Good evening, Shortcuts. This is video 1 for Shortcuts. The price list will go out this Wednesday, the 26th of March at 9 p.m. Sydney time as usual. This is your preview video for your classic rock, hard rock, and pop selection. There'll be another selection that I will do very soon. There's quite a few new members on the list after my record fair in Manly last weekend and the record fair in Paddington this weekend. So thank you all if you're new for signing up. Hopefully you find something of interest in these videos. Not so many Japanese this week. The next Japanese box is coming next week, and I've been told it's got some interesting stuff. We'll see when it gets here. But let's see what you make of this selection. It's got some Aussie, it's got some punk hard rock, it's got some UK presses and a few other interesting bits and pieces. All right, the only place to start is this. It is incredibly hard to get good quality, non-buggered up Motörhead vinyl. This is a fantastic copy of Motörhead's Ace of Spades. This is the Aussie first press in the best condition I have ever seen it. It is in fabulous condition. Sounds rocking as well. I don't think you can imagine a record that sounds more balls out than this one. Look at that spaghetti western inspired sleeve. This, of course, I think it was their third or fourth album. They made a splash with Overkill and Bomber, but this is the one. Everyone remembers them on The Young Ones, which is a comedy show where they turned up and played Ace of Spades with Lemmy singing up into that microphone in that inimitable style. Formed in 1975 after Lemmy left Hawkwind. What a bass player he was. And then the band, Filthy Animal Taylor on drums, just outrageously good. This record is uncompromising, yet it was a massive hit. Crazy. Talk about a cult favorite. And it is high octane from start to finish. So I had to review this record for a music group that I'm part of a while back. And there are some songs in here that I thought were tremendous. We Are the Road Crew has to be the greatest love song to roadies ever. It's so fun. Talking about a tour battered, drug-addled, squad. Can you imagine what that back team would have been with Lemmy and the crew? My gosh, the chase is better than the catch. What a tune that is! Honestly, superb. So melodic. It is not a million miles away from a Buzzcocks killer melodic punk song. Ace of Spades, it is the definitive record. Interestingly, though, it's not my favorite Motörhead record, which is actually the next one that I'm about to show you. Anyway, Motörhead records were normally trashed. These aren't. They're in fantastic condition. If you like your Motörhead, you're going to absolutely love that. So, this is my favorite Motörhead album. And it is probably most Motörhead fans' least favorite album, just goes to show. This is because of the overlap between Motörhead and Thin Lizzy that happened on this record, Another Perfect Day. So, Another Perfect Day, 1983, so a few years after Ace of Spades. But by this point, Motörhead had parted company with the guitarist on Ace of Spades, Fast Eddie Clarke. And in a completely left field move, recruited Brian Robertson, who was ex-Thin Lizzy. and a very melodic guitar player as opposed to the complete kind of speed machine that Fast Eddie Clarke was. And a completely different style. And you ended up with this record that's kind of yin and yang. It's trying still to be that kind of gnarly, fast, smash your head in punk, rock, hard metal band. And yet the guitar playing is so interesting. I mean, I think that I don't know. I mean, clearly they didn't get on that well. I mean, they didn't tour very well. The whole thing was, and it was really maligned when it was released. But when you listen back on it now, it's got something. It is not a quintessential. Most people will have Bomber Overkill, Ace of Spades, and a bunch of others up there. But I really like it, and I could be wrong. I'm sure there's a few in the messages who are going to go, "You're completely nuts." It's got this kind of cartoony insert. There's a little bit of damage. There's a little bit of damp on the sleeve, but the record is great. I was listening to it earlier. Motörhead, Another Fine Day. A controversial one. Interestingly, they played as a band Dancing on Your Grave from Another Perfect Day, and a lot of live shows subsequent to this, all the way through. Yeah, it's an interesting and, I guess, let's say, strained record. And that strain, that stretching is interesting, at least to me. Let's keep going with that kind of punk ethos, but look at it through a completely different lens. So Husker Du emerged from the punk scene in Minneapolis. Bands like the Minutemen and others. Minutemen being a favorite of me, and I know a bunch of you in the group. But by the mid-'80s, they had evolved into something wildly different. Two songwriters, Bob Mould, Grant Hart, still raw and energetic and punchy, and a very thin, caustic recording style. But their final album is probably an amalgam of everything that they were. The incredibly melodic punk songs, the noise, sometimes even acoustic, fast, loud, soft, loud. Nirvana clearly heavily influenced by Husker Du, as are many bands. I mean, a lot of American bands were very enamored with this group. Not quite, I think, held in the same regard in other parts of the world. But they're very, very interesting. And so Grant Hart and Bob Mould were kind of rivals who would get the songs on the record. There was just tension everywhere. And I think it was shortly after they released this record that the band fell apart and never came back together. But you've got songs like These Important Years, Ice Cold Ice, You're a Soldier, She Floated Away. Some of them are almost kind of Beatlesy, psychedelic rock. It's long, overstuffed. It's a double LP. It was direct metal mastered in Australia. You can kind of get a sense of the psychedelia from the sleeve. In this case, again, this record is often trashed, but the inners are absolutely pristine. Got all the lyrics. The lyrics are actually really fun and interesting to follow along. The records themselves are in fantastic shape. Maybe I didn't even mention the name of it. It is Husker Du's Warehouse, Songs and Stories. One of the first kind of alternative bands to come out of that punk explosion and release a double album. Very, very, very interesting band. They toured heavily this record, and I guess that's what led to their complete implosion in 1988. Apparently they had a live album on the books ready to go, but Bob Mould destroyed the tapes after the breakup, saying he didn't want there to be any spoiling or any further Husker do music. I don't know whether that's true or not. If it is, it's, just goes to show how it all fell apart and how tense and difficult it must have been. Because by all intents and purposes, they were a simply stunning live band. Talking about punk and live bands, the transition here is one that I planned quite deliberately. This is a really lovely copy of the Saints' I'm Stranded. Beautiful condition, everything just lovely. The record itself, playing it earlier today, much to my wife's chagrin, and it is absolutely pristine. It is, I think it's the 1985, 86 repress. Sounds fantastic. The box that I got this with had 2 copies that were both perfect, and I'm keeping one, and this is the other. What do you say about the Saints? I mean, I'm in the same group that I mentioned earlier where we did some Motörhead a while back. We are currently listening to and reviewing Prehistoric Animals by the Saints, which was a follow-up to I'm Stranded, which has still got that punk kind of pop ethos, but with horns. Whereas on this debut album, there are no horns, at least not as far as I can remember. This is the Saints building their own scene, creating their own punk ecosystem. What a band. I mean, I'm going to talk about 3 of the greatest Australian bands ever. And I mean, you could arguably put the next 3 bands that I'm talking about in the list of the top 3 bands in the history of Australian rock. So try and think who the other 2 might be. But the Saints is up there. Brisbane, Erotic Neurotic, Demolition Girl, Messing with the Kids. I mean, it was critically acclaimed both here and in the UK. Wasn't a massive commercial hit, but I think in terms of legacy, just extraordinary. There's one of the podcasts I've listened to the longest is a podcast called Sound Opinions out of public radio in Chicago, hosted by Jim DeRogatis and Greg Kot, who are American music critics of incredible esteem, working with the Chicago Tribune. Jim DeRogatis is a professor at, I think it's the University of Columbia. And their theme song to their podcast is a little excerpt of I'm Stranded by the Strains. Actually, no, they have a spin-off podcast where they talk about, being stuck on a desert island disc and bringing one record with you. And what would it be? And that's I'm Stranded by the Saints. Just an incredible record. If you don't know it, it's amazing. Just give it a go. I really rate it, and it'll be interesting as I kind of work through Prehistoric Animals and some of the other Saints records as to where this sits in the list. All I know is it's a very, very enjoyable listen, and this 80s repress on Aussie vinyl is lovely. Yeah, so really, really, really nice. Really nice. All right, the second of those classic Aussie bands is AC/DC. Now, there's a sleeve many of you might not have seen, but this is a legit thing. So there was a box set that was released of AC/DC vinyl. I think it was 1981 or early 80s. And in the box set was a 12-inch of this song, Cold Hearted Man. And so in order to get this, you needed to, get the box set. But not many people grabbed the box set, or if they did, they, kind of kept hold of it. So it's nice to see the EP, this 12-inch, out and about. You can see here on the box, it says, bonus record, only available in the ACD box set. Or on the shortcuts list this week, it's available. So there you have the Saints and AC/DC. So who might the third band be in the triumvirate of great Aussie bands? Well, I've got an EP and an LP that are interconnected by this really special band who I think are my personal favourite Aussie band. and it is The Church. Now what we have here is the EP Sing Songs and their album Seance. Now both of these are, and you're going to trust me in this, in fantastic condition. Absolutely pristine. This has got to be their best album sleeve. Even on the back, it looks amazing. They kept that theme going all the way through to the inner. Richard Plug on drums, bongos and tambourine. Steve Kilby, vocals, bass, keyboards, strings. Peter Copps, guitar, Hammond organ. Marty Wilson Piper, guitars and vocals. Self-produced. Anyway, so how are these two linked? Well, the EP Sing Songs was released just before Seance. And Seance was, I think it was their third, I'm pretty sure, I'm going to have to check. But the EP is kind of the lead-in to the darker, more kind of grimy record that is Seance. And a little bit different to the sprightly kind of power pop that arguably were the kind of signatories of the first couple of Church records. I Am a Rock, The Night is Very Soft, probably my favorite on Sing Songs, In This Room. On their EPs, by the way, there's a few Church EPs. They're really worth seeking out if you like the band because they're much looser than the records. They really experiment and kind of play around a bit more. And I think that's kind of what you should do with an EP. But it's very, very good. But Seance is a fantastic record. I think the thing about Seance, I mean, kind of says what it is. I really like the dark, shimmering 80s guitar style. Bands like the Chameleons are bands that I love. And so Seance really appeals to me, and you know, you don't get to Starfish and Heyday without having a record like Seance, and I think over time it's become maybe more and more recognized as kind of a killer Church record. And you know, they've got so many great ones. Definitely has a different ambition and a different sonic, you know, fingerprint than some of the others, but I love it. It's, you know, pretty cool band, pretty cool record. 1982's Sing Songs, 1983's Seance. All right, I'm going to flip to something very, very different, but I think pretty special, particularly if you are a Deep Purple fan. So Glory Road was Ian Gillan's kind of breakout record with his band Gillan. And this is it. I mean, he'd already proven himself in Deep Purple to be, you know, a classic rock stalwart. You know, a lot of people absolutely love his voice. But his solo records are quite different. I mean, Deep Purple had, in many respects, a kind of a sonic fingerprint. And, you know, that kind of bluesy groove, that the range that Gillan had in terms of what he could do was pretty fixed. But on his solo stuff, man, he goes all over the map. Wilder, heavier, much less restrained. And I think a lot of people think, I'm not as well versed with his solo career as I am with his Deep Purple career. But, you know, this record's, you know, right up there. Now, what's really, really cool, you get this is the UK first press. So you get the Glory Road record, and you're just going to trust me on this, in absolutely pristine condition. But on the UK first press, you also got this. And you can see that says, for Gillan fans only. This was a completely free and additional LP that was added in to the record. I think it's UK only. I'm going to have to double check that. But you get Higher and Higher. This is the first track on the side and is not preceded by any other songs. You know, it's all a bit silly, but it's kind of studio outtakes, some live, some kind of this really interesting reggae jam that the band did. I was like listening and going, you guys missed a trick. That's actually quite good. It's a very, very cool little thing, especially if you're, into the purple. In fact, I forgot to list this. I've got a UK first press purple record, which is a kind of a purple, deep purple Mark II kind of spin off, a UK first press that's actually in translucent purple vinyl, and I forgot to bring it with me. If anyone's interested in that, just ping me separately. But that is Gillan with the free for Gillan fans only LP that came with the UK first press. I'm going to have to flick through these next ones a little bit more quickly. This next one, so many of you will have heard me rave about how good Thin Lizzy sounds on Japanese vinyl. Well, I have something really cool here. This is a Japan-only compilation. The Japanese compilation album, and I looked up this on Google Translate, that's what it says. It is a compilation of the best of Thin Lizzy. Listen to this. Waiting for an Alibi, Dancing in the Moonlight, Don't Believe a Word, Wild One, Jailbreak, Do Anything You Want To, Side 1. Side 2, Rosalie, Still in Love With You, Cowboy Song, and The Boys Are Back in Town. If you want a distillation of the greatest kind of rock signatory tracks of Thin Lizzy on some beautiful Japanese vinyl, then this is the baby for you. Thin Lizzy's Japanese only compilation. All right, now I don't have any Japanese left. These are they all UK? I think no, this one's Aussie. This is a really nice copy of kind of a much maligned record, just in beautiful, beautiful condition. It's got the inner and the photograph sheet all in pristine condition. If you're a fan of this kind of more jazzy style that Sting delivered in 1985, then this copy is in perfect condition. And I'm asking the princely sum of 10 Australian dollars for this. And you will never, ever, ever find a better copy. That record led to a bunch of Grammy nominations and God knows what. And maybe led to, modern solo Sting. So, that's got positives and negatives. But before we get on, I also know there are quite a few of you out there who collect Now compilations. This is the UK first press of Now 14. So you've got Mark Almond, Erasure, Phil Collins, Yaz, Kim Wilde, In Excess, Roy Orbison, Fine Young Cannibals. It's just a classic era of singles, wasn't it? Nena Cherry, Buffalo Stance, Good Life, S Express, Style Council, Tone Loc with Wild Thing, Paula Abdul, Samantha Fox, Kleiny Fisher, Duran Duran, Level 42. It's just one of those classic UK double LPs. I also have an absolutely beautiful copy of Madonna's True Blue, which kind of plays like a greatest hits of its own. Papa Don't Preach, Open Your Heart, Live to Tell, True Blue, Lastly Bonita. Just a lovely, lovely thing. And again, these UK records have a warmth to them that to a certain extent don't exist in the Aussie copies. I think there's a slight favouring of the bottom end on UK records that lends these types of pop and rock records a really solid, warm, kind of really, I guess, vinyl feel, very analog. And finally, I have a couple of records that are linked to one of my favourites. It's Ian Dury. So this is Children in the High Roads, Handsome, the only record that they ever made. That was his only record with Children in the High Roads before going on to form Ian Dury and the Blockheads. A total kind of London scene record. Crippled with Nerves, Broken Skin, Upminster Kid. It's just a fun piece, and this is one of his 80s records that I also quite like. 4,000 Weeks Holiday, Ian and the Music Students. So leaving out that classic Ian Dury and the Blockheads, you got the Children on the High Roads and Ian Dury and the Music Students. So I just thought I'd bookend those two periods in the beautiful career of Ian Dury. All of those are UK presses, in most cases first presses. This list will go out 9 p.m. sharp on Wednesday evening. If you would like to be on the price list but aren't already, drop me an email, shortcutsrecordsaus@gmail.com. Thank you if you came to my record fair. It made it an absolute roaring success. We had over 500 people. It was amazing. I'll do it again in June. Watch out for it. And watch out for the next video, which will have a very different selection. Over and out.